Testing. You guys hear me? Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar for today. The topic is LHDN E-invoice live demo with Odoo, co-hosted by A1 Consulting and Nations, with featured guests from Mr. Makoto from Odoo, Hong Kong. As Malaysia is moved forward with a mandatory e-invoice, it's essential for the business to stay informed and prepare. Today, we will explore the importance of e-invoice, looking into the common challenges when using MyInvoices, and introduce how Odoo can help to simplify the process for greater efficiencies. I'm Andrew Quek, CEO of A1 Consulting. With over 15 years of its ERP consulting experience, our firm have grown to be a trusted ERP cloud ERP partner across Southeast Asia. Together with me today, let me introduce our distinguished speakers, Mr. Jesu Dasons, Tax Director at Dason & Dasons. He will share a key insights on navigating a compliance challenge with MyInvoice. He's a regular speaker for MIA and CTIM. Jesu is expert in taxation, corporate secretary matters, and forensic accounting. He's frequently engaged with Inland Revenue Board and recently co-presents on MSME Invoice Challenge. Welcome, Jesu.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Glad to be invited for today's session. And just a little introduction. I think Andrew has already communicated on my experience. And as I would like to share with you guys more on insights, although we have very limited time, today's session is more focused on generating the e-invoice. So hope you guys will be patient, and then we will go through this session. Over to you, Andrew. So in this case, allow me to share the slides first to you guys. Give me a moment. All right, here we are. Sure. Okay, guys. So we are going to talk about e-invoicing today, as I'm just not going to go through the entire process of e-invoice. I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with or at least heard about it. So I'm just going to do a run through what is e-invoicing. So what is e-invoice? So e-invoice is a system where both supplier and customer would have to notify LHDN on the transaction. Okay, so pretty much it's on notifying LHDN as to what is your revenue and what is your purchase, what's the customer's purchases on real-time basis. Okay, so traditionally how it used to happen. Traditionally, we will prepare our accounts for the entire year. After the financial year, prepare the accounts balance sheet, and then we will file your tax returns in the following year. So income tax will only know about your revenue 1 year later or maybe more. Okay. Now with e-invoicing, it is on real-time basis. What does it mean? That means as and when you issue an invoice, LHDN will be notified. Meaning to say, the supplier will notify how much is the sales, and at the same time, the supplier would also notify LHDN who is buying from them. So in this case, LHDN, Lembaga Hasil, is actually tracking both sales and purchases. Now, why purchases then? Now, you see, there are some people out there who are not declaring their income properly. So when you have a certain amount of expenses and it exceeds your income, your official income declared, IRB already knows you're running away from tax. So you have to understand, what is e-invoice? E-invoice effectively is data. You are feeding data to LHDN on real-time basis. And what is this? So LHDN is actually collecting all of this data into their AI. Now, LHDN is very well invested in AI, big data, everything in Cyberjaya. Okay, so e-invoice is now their next tool to collect all of this information to ensure tax compliance throughout Malaysia. So this is actually a right step, but again, it's not just going to happen next year or now. This is a long-term project by LHDN. Yes, there are some issues here and there, but in a matter of time, the full function of e-invoice will come into play. So right now we are at the beginning. So this is what we are going to do. So pretty much what's going to happen is that in e-invoice, the seller sells the product, notify LHDN. So LHDN's server would capture details such as who is the buyer, who is the seller, what is the transaction value, their tax identification number, address, everything for every single transaction. So what we're going to do today is that we are going to do a case study on the scenarios which where we need to issue the e-invoice. Now, before we go to the case study, let me just discuss a little bit on the implementation timeline. I'm pretty sure you all are aware of this. Of course, those with turnover more than 100 million started last year. Those turnover more than 25 million up to 100 million started in January 2025. Those who are turnover more than 500,000 a year up to 25 million will start in July 2025, which is coming soon, and everybody else which is turnover less than 500,000 will start in January 2026. And of course, if you're a new company just incorporated, yeah, you're all going to start in January 2026. So you don't have to worry much about that. Now, generally e-invoice, there's four types of e-invoice. We have the invoice, credit note, debit note, refund note. Again, today we are not going to talk about credit note, debit note, refund note. Again, these are all subsets of the invoice. So we need to say, before you can issue a credit note, debit note, you must have the original e-invoice first. Okay, so today we're just going to talk on the e-invoice only because of our limited time. And of course, if you have any questions, queries and everything, there are guidelines issued by LHDN. So you can go to the website and they have all of these guidelines issued. If you read through all of them, it will give you an idea. Oh, sorry, there's 2025 is missing here. So it's 2025. Okay, now let's straight jump into the case study. So today we are going to consider three scenarios, three situations where you issue e-invoice. Okay, now the first scenario is talking about business to business. So meaning to say, if you are a business and your customer is also a business, so business to business transactions, you must issue e-invoice. That means in their name. So every single transaction must be recorded and you have to issue e-invoice. So what I'm going to do shortly is that I'm going to show you how to issue e-invoice using the MyInvois platform. Now, this is free of charge provided by LHDN. But of course, when it's free, it's not perfect. So we will see how we go through it. And you have to jump through quite a lot of steps in order to issue one e-invoice. And bear in mind, every single transaction you are required to issue e-invoice. So as we go through the steps, you will realize maybe you may want to invest in a software rather than doing manually. Okay, that's first part. Now, the second part we are going to talk about is business to consumer businesses. So, certain businesses, you don't deal with other businesses. So, an example, a restaurant, okay, or a cafe, or if you're talking about retail sales, hardware shop, sundry shops, customers just come in, they just want to buy their things and they just want to go out. They don't even ask you for e-invoice, okay? So, how do these businesses have to account for e-invoice? So this type of business, or what we call B2C, business to consumers. That means your customer doesn't really need an e-invoice. Okay, they just say, you know what, I just want to buy my things and walk away. Now, in these type of circumstances, you are also required to issue e-invoice. But how do you do it? Well, that's where the consolidated e-invoice comes into play. So we will do one demonstration on how to do consolidated e-invoice. And then finally, we will talk about self-billing. Now, self-billing, the role is reversed. See, when you are a salesperson, so now you are selling to a local customer. So, of course, you issue e-invoice, all the data is synced up. LHDN knows who is buying, who is selling. And conversely, when you buy from a local vendor, local supplier, the local vendor also will issue e-invoice notifying LHDN how much is their sales, and by the way, notifying LHDN how much is your purchases. Correct? Now you are the customer. However, when you import services or import goods from overseas, now the overseas vendor does not issue any e-invoice because they're not required to declare their taxes in Malaysia because they're based outside Malaysia. So how to go about this? Of course, when you buy, you will get an invoice from overseas. How do you record this? This is where self-billing come in, i.e., you have to act on behalf of the overseas supplier and issue an e-invoice to yourself. So this is what we call self-billing. So there are actually there are 7 circumstances, but most probably people will only be involved in these 3. Okay, but of course for detailed criteria, please refer to the guideline. Due to the because we don't have much time today, I will just discuss on one example on issuing self-billing on services imported from overseas. Okay, goods imported from overseas. Now, let's dive into the example. So the first example is you are issuing an invoice, a sales invoice. So in this example, I just put there as your company, and you have this customer called Azure Interior, and we are issuing this invoice for 1,000 ringgit. Oh, there's a sales tax here. Okay, 1,000 ringgit. Now, what I'm going to do is that I am going to show you a demonstration on e-invoice. Now, how do you access e-invoice? Now, please bear in mind, okay, first example I'm going to show you the official portal, how you're going to access. So you have to go to My Tax. This is where you normally sign in for your tax returns. Put in your login details. Let me just put in my login details here. 5. Okay, login. Put in my password. Login, and you will come to this page. And then you see here, there's MyInvois here. You click into this, and you will come to the official portal to issue MyInvois. My friends, please, if you want to test out the system, do not use this one, because this is the official. So whatever figure you put here, you are informing LHDN that this is your income. So do not do this. This one is for the official transaction. I'm going to show you a sandbox environment. That means where you can test issuing MyInvoices. Okay. So how do you go? So this is the official one. Please do not use this. So let me just close this just in case. But this is just to show you how do you access MyInvoice portal, which is it is through your normal MyTax, and you just go click this MyInvoice, and that's it. Okay. Now, what I want to show you is the sandbox environment. Okay, so if you want to test, just play around with e-invoice, see how to issue, what are the details, and what I'm going to do right now, you have to go to this thing. You see here, preprod-mytax.hasil.gov.my. Yeah, go to this website and see it's already mentioned here. This site is for testing purposes only. Yeah, you can also test. Try it out. Okay. So what you do, same thing, put in your IC number or your login. If you're not Malaysian, you put in your passport number and how you normally log in to your MyInvoice. So let me just put it in, and we go here in. Okay, it's the same. It looks exactly it's quite similar. Just have to go through MyInvoice pre-prod. And you see the user interface is still the same. The only difference is, please take note of the top here. It says pre-prod. So if it's pre-prod, use that. Now, let's go back to our example here. We are now going to issue an invoice to this customer called Azure Interior. So how are we going to do the e-invoice? First things first, you have to click on New Document. And you see there is invoice. Click down the arrow, you can see invoice, credit note, debit note, refund note, self-bill. So self-bill is a different criteria, which we will do shortly after these 2 examples. So in this case, we want to issue an e-invoice. Just click invoice. Document version, please don't bother. Just click on the latest one, 1.1. That is what you want to do. And you click start. Okay. Now you see they come up with this funny number, invoice number. Now you can override this. So in this case, this is your internal invoice number. So in this case, our internal invoice number is TR2025/357. So how do? You have to click this override. So I put in TR, so this is our internal reference, 2025/357. Okay, so this is the number. Okay, then when I do date, time, now in this case is April 24th, which is today's date. So you can just put it as auto, or if you want, you may override it if you like. It's entirely up to you. Now, next thing, click continue. Okay, so you click continue. So you have now my details here. This is my supplier. So supplier means you. You are selling. So you are the supplier in this case. And okay, all of this will populate automatically. Now you have this thing called MSIC code. Now you need to know what is your MSIC code. You need to search this. You can see there's a whole list of. So you need to choose the most, the closest code which is related to your business. So in my case, of course, the good thing is that if you keep using, like in my case, I already pinned my MSIC code, which is financial consulting services, which is what I do. So I just click that. And this thing will automatically pop up. Next comes as to SST register number. Of course, I don't have. In this case, no. And of course, the address and all this pops up. Now, this part, all good. Now, the next part is the buyer. Now, if you refer to this example, our buyer is Azure Interior. It's based in Johor Bahru. Okay, you just put some random. Again, these are all random addresses, not real companies. Okay. So the type of ID I will select is business registration number. And in this case, you see you have business registration number is here, but then you see the tax identification number is not available. And this is a challenge everybody faces. So when I ask my customer is not letting me know what is their TIN number. So how am I supposed to get it? Simple. Business registration number is compulsory. Definitely you can get it from their letterheads or their invoice or their name cards. Because this is a requirement under the Companies Act. All businesses must publish their business registration number. So in this case, we have this customer called Azure. We have the BRN number of 199. So I have to put it in 199 00001 007 138. Okay. Now, what is the TIN number? I have no idea. So what you do, you see this magnifying glass, just click there, and you will see another window will pop up from LHDN. And it will say, it's a bit small. You can make it bigger. Okay. So it will say, unfortunately, you can change it in English. Okay. Criminal proceedings. Okay. Okay. Just in this case, this is other than individuals. It's a company. So you know your customer is either a company or individual. Then choose category. In this case, it's a company. So what I need to do is I just need to put in this number here, the business registration number. So the moment I put in the business registration number, I do search. Aha, there you go. This is now their tax identification number. So you got your TIN. So when you put in the TIN here, now before that, just to let you know, if you put this empty and you try to validate, you can't proceed. You see, name, I can't key in the name, I can't key in all these details. I cannot. So you must have the TIN. So in this case, you can search for the TIN based on the business registration number, put it in, and then you put validate. Do you see that? Name, now I can type in. I can now key in the name. So in this case, my customer's name, I can close this window. My customer's name is Azure Interior. So I just key in the name, Azure Interior. Okay, and then SST number, I don't think they have, so you just put that not applicable. Email, you can put, it's not a mandatory field, so you don't have to. Telephone number, now here's the thing, telephone number you must put from the country code. Okay, so you put 60, like I'm based in Johor, I put 607 23312. Okay, I just put some random number inside. Address line, so in this case, what's the address line? Number 1, so I key in number 1 Jalan Wong Fuk. Okay, and then we have the postcode 80,000, and then the city is Johor Bahru, and country, of course. Now here's the thing, when you click, you see all these country, Afghanistan and all that. So you gotta search for Malaysia. So you can MAL, then Malaysia is there. So you gotta search that. Of course, I would prefer if Malaysia is on top, then at least that will be much more convenient, but they have still yet to I've already raised this comment to LHDN, but they have yet to do any amendment there. So state, you have to choose Johor. In this case, it's Johor. And then you see here, up here, if there's a tick. So if there's a tick, means you can proceed further. If it's not complete, there will be an X, therefore you cannot proceed further. So what you do, click next is continue. And then you have this. So this is where you have to issue your e-invoice. Okay. Of course, in this case, we can choose the currency. Of course, naturally, Malaysia, you are issuing. So you put add line. Now we are issuing a invoice. So classification code. So you see so many classification code. Now, if the type of goods or services, you can find it here, then choose the code. Now, I will tell you, majority will fall here, others. Okay, even myself, tax agent fees also will fall under others. Okay, you will see that most of these codes are related to the personal income tax relief. Okay, so gym membership, all of these education fees, internet subscription, they are all related to that. So you most of the time, if you're a business owner, you're going to go under others. Okay, now once you click others, put a description of your product. So in this case, professional service, company. So I'll just put there tax consultancy. As simple as that. I don't want to put so detailed. But if you want to put it details, up to you. Consultation. Okay, tax consultation. Product tariff code, no, it's a service. There is no tariff code here. Quantity measurement, of course. Service, how do you put it? If it's goods, yeah, you can put in the quantity and the unit and measurement. So what do? I'll just put it. So when you look at this, you have so many units of measurement. How do you choose? So this is the problem with this website. They put in every single measurement that it's confusing people. Bobbin, what's a bobbin? I don't even know what is that. Okay, bought food. So many types. So what do? I will normally put it as unit, simple. The most simplest one, just put it as 1 unit, done. 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit, simple. If it's kilogram, you can put kilogram. If it's something that is related to your business, you can search it there. It will be there. Now, unit price in this case is 1,000. I'm putting 1,000 here. And there you go. Now, what do you do next? Next is we do tax type. Now, the tax type is, in this case, is actually service tax. If I put 1 unit, and then I put rate per unit is 1,000, and you will see I cannot do anything here. Why is that? Because I am not registered for service tax. So I cannot adjust the service tax here. So which is why I'm going to ignore the service tax, and I'm just going to put it as not applicable. Okay, so I just put it not applicable, and you will see that my total fees is 1,000, and I click add. So now it's add. Now again, if you have your service tax number, you can key it in, and then you select your tax as service tax, then the 8% will come and it will calculate. Okay. Now in this case, you will see the invoice is issued. I will continue next. Then you see, oh my God, what is all of this frequency of billing and all of that? It's up to you whether you want to fill up this part or not, because this is not relevant to you guys. So you can just skip this part. Shipping information is relevant provided you're exporting goods, or for self-billing, you're importing goods. Okay, then you need to fill up the shipping information, your import experts, K form number, all of that you need to do, and then you need to validate as well. But in this case, no need. Of course, this part here, shipping information, this scenario comes up is where you're selling to one customer and you're shipping the goods to another customer. Then you have to fill up this part. But if it's just the same customer, your shipping location is the same, you can just ignore this part. This part, on the other hand, is when you export goods. So when you are exporting goods, you need to fill in the customs form number, the Incoterms, and all of these other things, the K form 2, all of these. If you're exporting because it's a sales. Importing later I will discuss, but if you don't have those forms, doesn't matter. Services, all of these not applicable. All you have to do is just click continue. So you can see all that tick, 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 all done. And then all that's left is for you to sign and submit a document. Again, choose the ID type, click here, submit, and there you go. We have issued the e-invoice. You click here. I can look at the transaction over here. And then if I say print, you can see a sample of the invoice with the QR code issued under my name to Azure Interior for an amount for 1,000 ringgit. Okay. Now, this is just for one transaction, my friends. Imagine if you have 100 customers a day, if you're going to use MyInvoice portal, you have to do this all over again for every single transaction. Okay, so that is the first example. Now, let's look into the second example. Now, let's assume that you are doing a business which is business to consumer, i.e. retail business or restaurant business, where the customer does not request, or sometimes it could be a mix. Some customers will request for e-invoice, some does not. So what you need to do? You need to track your total sales. So let's say for this business, April this year, so this month, there's only 4 transactions I made. So I have these 4 numbers, 355, 356, 357, 358, and this is the value. Now remember, 357, we have actually issued an e-invoice. Okay. So be careful. If you are monitoring this manually, do not put 2,100 as your sales. If not, you'll be double counting, because at one point you already issued e-invoice. So you have already notified the LHDN that you have received 1,000 worth of sales. Now, when you are doing a consolidated e-invoice, do not put in the total value, because now, if not, you'll be double counting this 1,000. So you need to take out the 1,000. That means whatever transaction you have issued e-invoice, you must exclude it and only issue e-invoice based on the consolidated e-invoice based on whatever you did not issue the individual e-invoice. Are we okay? So this is what we are going to do now. Now, if you're going to do that, go back to the MyInvoice portal, go back to new documents again. So in this case, you choose to invoice, start, number up to you. Now, since this is a consolidated e-invoice, maybe you have a separate invoice number for you. So in this case, I put there as consolidation e-invoice stroke 2025, stroke 04 for the month of April, let's say. Because remember, consolidated e-invoice, you can only issue one for per month. You issue only one. When do you issue? That means you look for your sales from, in this case, 1st April to 30th April. What is your total sales? Take out all the sales which are not related, which you already issued e-invoice. The balance, you need to consolidate everything into one single invoice called consolidated e-invoice, and then you need to submit this before the 7th of the following month, i.e. 7th of May. So in this case, I issue this, I click continue. Now, after I click continue, same story again, everything the same, MSIC code, I will see the clock here. I will just choose the previous one I used. Okay, you can reuse that. No, none. So ID type. Now, in this case, remember, when you do consolidated, means you're taking every single customers. How do you put in the ID? So what you do is just put it as business registration number, put it as not applicable. Now, this one is the special one, the tax identification number you must remember. So what you need to do is EI 123 123 123. There are 9 zeros, 10, because these are all local. See, right now, name, I can't put anything, right? I need to click validate, only then I can put. Now, you can only validate provided you put this code. So this is the special code when you want to sell to, or when you want to generate the consolidated e-invoice. So what name do you put? You put it as general public. So that is the name you're supposed to put. Everything not address, you can just put it as not applicable, because you're consolidating every single person, every single customer. So no point to put any address there. So once all of this is done, you can see there is a tick up there. That means all is good. Let's go to continue. Now, after you continue, again, the same line items. Now, this time you add line. Classification code, you have to select. Now, do you see number 4? Consolidated e-invoice. Yeah. So now you're creating an e-invoice and you're notifying LHDN that this is a consolidated e-invoice to inform them on your total sales for the entire month, excluding those which you have already issued e-invoice. Okay. So here you can just put there sales. You can just put anything. You can put it as sales. Unit of measurement, as I said, I rather just put one and I just put it as unit. Up to you if you want to choose any of the other part. The price. Unit price. Now, in this case, in our example, we are not going to put 2,100 because remember, we already issued 1,000 previously. So now I'm just take out the 1,000. I'm just going to issue for 1,100. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put it as 1,100. Done. Then tax type. In this case, I'm going to ignore the service tax. So I'm just going to put there as not applicable. So not applicable. And then I have to click add. There you go. There comes the transaction. It's here. So what do I do next? I click continue. And then same story again, as I said, for consolidated, you don't have to fill up all of them because remember, it's all consolidated, everybody wants. So you don't really want to waste time on this. You just click continue next. And then here comes the summary page. As you can see, all the ticks are green. It's all good to go. So all you have to do is just sign and submit document. Put in again, ID type, identification number, click submit, and then you wait. There you go, submitted. This is fast. Okay, but again, the submission is fast, but the time to create it, you already go through to me. You already did the walkthrough with me. So same story again, and you can see from here, yeah, this is the one we generated, and the status is valid, so means it's all good. And if you want, you can just print it out right here, and you will see that now to general public, and then you will see this is the QR code, and there you go. This is a consolidated e-invoice notifying what is the total sales for the month of April. Okay, now let's go to the final example, which is self-billing. Now, self-billing is in a sense that now we are buying things from an overseas supplier. So I have a sample invoice here from an overseas supplier. The supplier is called Deco Addict. They are based in US, Los Angeles. This is referring to company, our business. Now you are the customer. The previous two examples, you are the seller. Now you are the customer. So we have a sample here, and you'll purchase it for 5,500 USD. But remember, I'm just assuming a conversion rate of 4, keep it simple, and then it's equivalent to 22,000 ringgit. So how are we going to issue the e-invoice? So again, the same story, my friends. Go back to new documents, issue. Now, this time you can't say invoice, because if you put it invoice, means it's your sales. Now you are purchasing, you are buying. So you need to go self-bill invoice. So click self-bill invoice, click start. And you will notice, okay, now the number, what number do you put? So you have to override, because right now, this is the number, INV-OL-24456. So you need to put that, INV-OL-24456. Okay, so this is the number, the date, is still today's date, so that's fine. Continue. The roles have switched, my friends. Now you are the buyer, but you are now issuing on behalf of your vendor. So in this case, you put it as business registration number or whatever you have in the, you can just put it in. If the invoice have something, you can put in. If not, you can just leave it NA. And you can put a TIN number. This is the important part. You put EI 00012312330 because you are importing goods. So you have to remember this number. And when you click validate, it will be there. Now, what do you do? Name. In this case, our client's name is Deco Addict. Deco Addict. Registration number, not applicable. MSIC code. If you're not sure what do they do, you can just put it as not applicable. Simple as that. Okay. And TTA, tourism tax, nothing. Email, you can leave it when. Telephone number, let's put it as 001555. Okay, some number is their number. Fill in the address. So you can put in this address, in this case, 77 Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara. What else do we have? Sorry. Los Angeles, country, United States, United. So where is United States of America? And state, you can put it as California. Okay, postcode, if you have anything, let's say okay, something like that. And then you click, and then you see everything is ticked. Good, you can proceed. Add line, so in this case, classification code, you have to go for self-bill. Now, in this case, what did we buy? We have purchased chairs. So meaning say you have imported goods. You have purchased chairs. So you have to choose the correct classification code. In this case, I will choose self-billing, importation of goods. Okay. You can put there chairs. Okay. Now, unit of measurement, I will just put it as 1. I'll just put it as unit. Okay. You can choose any other unit you like, entirely up to you. Unit price. Now, sorry, before that, I think I missed one part. In this case, we can change this to USD. So in this case, I missed out this part. Change it to US dollar. And what is the exchange rate? We are taking an exchange rate of 4. Now, because I'm importing, I add one line. Now, in this case, now everything changes to USD. So let me just go back this again. We are choosing self-bill, importation of goods. Done. Chairs. And then product category, ignore unit measurement 1. Quantity, I put as unit. Of course, if you want to follow the exact quantity, in this case is 10, 10, 20. I don't want to repeat the thing because I have to do it twice. Because for each line item, I have to put 10, then the next line item, another 10. So that's now I just want to put in 5,500, make things simple. So I'll just put it as 1 unit, unit price, 5,500. And there you go. Now, tax type, there's actually a sales tax, but I'm just going to ignore this because the sales tax information will be in the custom form. Okay, so I'm just going to put it as not applicable, and then I'm just going to add the line. Okay, so now you have this, and exchange is now in USD, exchange rate 4, continue. Now, in this case, remember you did import goods, so we are required to fill up this part. Now, for now, they have decoupled it. You don't have to, but I think in the near future, this will also be linked. Because the moment you say you have imported goods, it's going to request for all the custom form information. For now, because LHDN just wants to get the system up and running, they have decoupled a few things. So, but moving forward, this would be linked to the customs department as well. So your whatever form, K form number you put in here will need to be validated as well. Okay, but for now, we don't have to. Baby steps. Okay, that's what's going on right now. So they have invoiced this amount, and all you have to do is, because it's in USD 5,500, just click submit. There you go. And click here and submit. Submitted. There you go. You can have a look at the sample. I'll click print. And then these are all the samples. And you can see this is the transaction in USD. That's all. Finish. Now, you can try it yourself. Just remember, go to pre-prod and log in using your normal logins for MyTax. Okay, password is the same. So with that, I end my sample and presentation. Now, in case you do have any questions, you can see the screen right here. Take a snapshot of that. You can send an email to us or WhatsApp to us. We will answer you any questions in case you have some questions after this presentation. Okay, so over to you, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Jesu, for a detailed walkthrough of MyInvoice system. As you can see, managing invoicing manually can be very prone to errors and very time consuming. Now that we explore the challenge, we understand on the legal side, how to do that. Let's look at how technology can simplify and enhance the process. So today we have one of our distinguished speakers, Mr. Makoto. He's a team leader of the channel cell in charge of Malaysia and Brunei. He walked through with us today how Odoo invoicing capabilities. With 5 years at Odoo, Makoto is leading the channel sales in Malaysia and Brunei, supporting partners and drive ERP growth across Asia Pacific regions. He brings deep expertise in digital adoption and market expansions. Welcome, Makoto.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Jesu, for the really detailed explanation. And I think that's also the reason why, after looking at this, I'm all the more convinced that we need a software to be able to deal with all the situations that are kind of showcased there. Just trying to check it. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Here? Okay, great. So I think a little bit of background. Thanks, Andrew, for the information there. Yes, my name is Makoto. So I'm one of the country leaders, and specifically, I'm handling for the Malaysia market in the channel side, which means we do collaborative work, which is in this case here today we are actually collaborating with A1 Consulting, which is one of the Odoo partners in Malaysia. So I use a lot of term about Odoo. So for those of us who might not have heard of the term Odoo before, you might be wondering, so what is Odoo? And this is where I'm going to take a step back and to help you understand. So Odoo, as the title implies, it is an all-in-one management software to help you grow and help your company grow. So if you are thinking about it, it's actually a ERP system, but it's not just an ERP system, right? Because there's a lot of different modules. Odoo is in a modular system, a modular basis software that is more comprehensive, and it's really wanting to bring out the idea of all in one, right? This is the Odoo 18 interface, as you can tell, it's very beautiful, very easy to use, which actually later Calvin is gonna show us how these are all going to be coming together, in a system itself, to showcase some of the capabilities there. But I'm going to take a step back here and to talk a little bit more generally what Odoo is, and then the history of why we decided to integrate MyInvois into the system. Okay, so if you're wondering, if you've never heard of it, I know the first question that pop up to mind is, okay, I've never heard of the software. Is it gonna be bankrupt anytime soon? So like Andrew was mentioning, I joined this company for about 5 years now, and I've witnessed this number went from just 6 offices, 7 offices to right now 19, which means we've thrived in this couple years, right? We tripled the number of offices, the number of official partners that is willing to work with us and is really excited, happy to work with us. It's exceeded. I believe that number is closer to 6,000 right now. And we have in total of 12 million happy users all across the globe. And right now I'm speaking to you on behalf of the in the Hong Kong team, where we take care of the Southeast Asia and also East Asia market here. Okay, and yes, to give you a little bit more assurance, these are the brands that's already placed their faith and placed their really the trust in the Odoo system, have been using them, right? It could be different scales, it could be different companies or different subsidiaries that have been using. But the point here is we've not just been working with small companies, SMEs, but also bigger companies would also be able to use Odoo. And you're wondering why, I talk a lot about really fancy stuff, like high level, but I want to go a little bit more the middle level, where I want to talk a little bit about how does Odoo specifically help your business. So I hope you're already convinced by Jesu when he was sharing about his the detail right now. I was just calculating that 3 invoice took about 20 minutes. I mean, it's 30 some minutes, but he was also explaining, helping us to understand. So it takes about 20 minutes. So if I'm looking at, let's say 500 invoices every single day, that's going to take 24 hours is not going to be enough, right? So this is where the technology side, as Andrew was mentioning, comes in, and Odoo help you and your business, right? A little bit of introduction, and the reason why I want to make it integrated into the system rather than it's already standard available, as you can see here on the last point. It's available since last year, right? Supported from version 17. So for those of us who don't know what version 17 means, it's basically every single year Odoo does an upgrade and update to make sure things are keep up to track, because things are changing constantly. There's AI, there's all these different tools that are being introduced into the market, and we are actually trying to really keep up with it so that we're not being, filtered out by the technology, right? And we have already established an integration with MyInvoice portal, right, provided by IRBM, and we are already supporting the handling of invoices related documents, right? It's a fully compliant, because this is not just it's not a government says, oh, it's optional, guys. You guys can choose whether you want to use this e-invoicing. No, it's going to be mandatory, as Jesu was mentioning too. Starting July, and then all. Until I actually believe it's going to be next year, January 1st, which is all companies will be using it, right? And this is why we decided to hey, we're going to take a time, we're going to dedicate and make this standard and possible. Okay. And all of this, I hope you get the idea of, hey, Odoo, what we're trying to really address in the market is that we want to go from standalone software, where you can see there's there's Excel, there's Google Calendar. All these things are great tools, right? But the problem comes in when all these things are not synced together, right? You might be handling with your client on WhatsApp, you might be talking with them on WhatsApp, but let's say I book a time on 2:30 p.m. and I want to make it sync to my Google Calendar. How does that work, right? I did something here on my CRM. I updated my sales order. I want my backend, or I want my subsequent action to also be reflective of that as well. So this is where Odoo comes in, because we are providing, and the hope is to provide an all-in-one solution where everything is coming together, and our positioning, right? And I know a lot of people, when you hear of the word ERP, the first thing that comes to mind is complicated, time-consuming. A lot of money will be involved in investing in this. While all of these are true, it depends on how how big your company is. I'm not going to say Odoo is a magical tool where everything is going to be simplified and very easy to use. No, yes, it is going to be simplified, but it is to an ERP system. That this is where you have to really manage the expectation of, hey, there are different things I really need to work well with the partners, right? People who are going to implement Odoo for you. And no matter what it is, actually, no matter what software, you really need to work well and understand what are some of the things that you're facing and how you can actually address this issue together with the vendor that's working with you, right? But in Odoo, what we're trying to do is we really want to simplify everything, right? So whenever the client says, I want this to be able to fly, and I don't know, maybe some vendors, they say, yeah, your software can fly. And in Odoo, what we're really trying to do is, hey, it's not realistic to fly, but how about we make it walk faster, right? It's going to save your time. It's still going to make your life easier, but we're not going to fly, because flying, it is possible, but you need to build an aircraft, right? So that's where the expectation has to be managed, and no matter what software that you're using. Okay. And yes, Odoo, and the reason why it is such a competitive software is because it's one pricing, but covering for every single thing, right? So whatever that you can see here, it's all covered in one license pricing, which means any user who comes in, right, this, including the e-invoicing, they're all in the standard package, right? Which means any single user who has access to this can actually already use every single thing, and it's all just one price, right? So I've talked a lot, and I believe that we've covered a lot of different information, but I want to summarize this part, just before we move on to the the practical, is that the benefits of MyInvois being in Odoo, right? It's compliant with the local regulations, right? It's a much more efficient invoice management, and yes, I'm gonna quote Jesu on this because he has really showed how slow it is without the software itself, right? It's real-time tracking, right? These are the things that once we integrate it, we make it standard, it's going to be real-time tracking for every single invoice. right? Cost effective, I covered that as well because this is under one license pricing and there's no additional integration cost there, right? User-friendly setup, it's a support for testing as well. So all in all, the benefit of having this is really to make sure the companies are compliant with the local regulations, and at the same time, it's not going to make their life harder because of this, right? So that's going to be my part of introducing this. We will have some time later to talk a little bit like a Q&A session if you want to ask more about Odoo. But as of now, I want to let you guys focus, and I'm going to pass the time back to Andrew to introducing about the practicality of Odoo.
Yep. Thank you so much, Makoto, for your sharing. We have been working together for almost a year, and we receive a lot of support from Odoo for the Malaysian market. Once Odoo know, even though their headquarters is in Hong Kong, when they have some demanding on e-invoicing in Malaysia, immediately, the R&D team in Odoo have worked on that and release a version very, very soon. I think that is a very fast reaction to the market, and that's showing the Odoo commitment for Malaysian localizations. So for the next part, I would like to introduce Kevin. Kevin is our i1 Consulting Malaysia country head. He will guide through with you a live demo to showcase how to do that in Odoo. Kevin brings over 15 years of experience in IT project management and ERP solutions. As a country head, he leads a digital transformation strategy and also work through a lot of successful Odoo implementations across different industry. Kevin, thank you. And and by the way, if any of you have any questions, feel free to drop in our chat box. We will attend to the question after Kevin's sections. Thank you very much.
Okay, Andrew. Thanks for the introduction. I think you introduced me well. I don't need to add on to that. Can you hear me well? Is it clear enough? Right, good. All right. So, Andrew, thank you. So, as Nagato has mentioned, using the e-invoicing module, A1 Consulting had further made much enhancement on the standard e-invoicing offering. So, you have heard what the gentleman has said. So, I want to bring you all into action to see how this is done in Odoo in action. Okay. I will need to purposely slow down my pace a little bit as I explain as I go, because if not, the submission is going to be very fast, very quick e-invoicing submission using Odoo. Okay. So I will be covering three things: individual invoice, consolidated invoice, and also self-bill invoice. Okay. Well, just now when Jason was submitting the invoices, I think as what Makoto has done, I was busy counting how many button clicks needed to perform the submission. Okay. I count no less than 15 button clicks, and I lost count of how many fields you need to manually fill it out. Okay. Now let's see the invoice submission in Odoo in action. All right. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, let me know if you can see my screen. Good. All right, let's start. So let me go back here. Well, okay, you have seen that this is how the Odoo ERP looks like. Okay. As Makoto mentioned, that is modular. So you can see that we have selected some of the modules that is typically needed for in terms of accounting, e-invoicing submission. Okay. Well, so I go to the sales. So typically you were going to have your sales order there, and you are ready to submit the invoicing, the e-invoicing. Okay. Now the first one, let's go to the individual e-invoicing. Okay, so I'm going to select this. Okay, so you can see that I have the customer here, and remember just now, Jason need to choose what is the T number, and you can see the T number is auto-populated here, okay, without you needed to manage it, okay. The item purchase is here, okay. Now you create the invoice, okay. And at the same time, you'll notice that there is this LHDN mandatory classification code is auto-populated for you as well. Okay. Now you just need to click confirm, and you'll be hopefully happy to see the send e-invoice button here. It is that simple. So you'll see that the e-invoice sent is over here. The e-invoice is sent already. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the e-invoice submitted and how it's going to look like when you go to the check it in the MyInvoice portal. So I'm going to search it. Okay, you can see that this is the invoice that I just submitted here. Okay, this is the internal invoice number, which is auto-populated for you. This is invoice number 22. And the buyer information is here, completely compliant. There's no issue here, automatically fill in, as well as the line item of the products is here as well. That's it. That's for the first individual invoice submission. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is the consolidated invoice submission. Okay, now let's go back to the quotation. Okay, you can see that this is the general public, which is the targeted for the consolidated invoice. I mean, this is the invoice that is get from the general public with those customer. Normally, it's from your POS system. Okay. Before I go in, I just want to let you take a look at how it looks like. So the customer is general public, and again, the TIN number is auto-populated. Remember the 90, I think, followed by 10 here, this item purchase. Okay. So I'm going to select this guy here, and go to consolidate the invoice. Consider the billing, credit, confirm it, and again, you're ready for the e-invoice submission. Just click here. It's sent over here. Okay. Just want to be sure you can check again at the MyInvoice portal. Just go here. Just happily search again. Here is the consolidated invoice. Okay, the invoice number 23. Again, the buyer is general public, is consolidated invoice, and the item is here, consolidated. Okay. Now, the last one I'm going to show is the self-bill invoice, where you purchase from suppliers who are overseas. Shall go back to quotation. Deco edit. Just click inside. Again, you will see that for the self-bill invoice, the TIN number is correctly populated. So no worries about that. You just need to click confirm. Create invoice. Okay. So you notice that the classification code for those for the relevant is shown as well automatically, and confirm. Okay. And this is the last step, just to create the self-bill invoice. The system will send you the notification, and you just want to be sure you can take a look at the MyInvoice portal. Okay, this is the self-bill invoice that we have just sent. Okay, it's a foreign supplier, foreign country supplier, with the address in the US, with the proper TIN number, and the item is listed here. All compliant, all done in very simple steps. Okay, I think I've done that in less than 5 minutes for all the 3 invoices. All right, so I think that's all from me, Andrew. Back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very, very fast. And you know, we end the presentation section on time. We have 1 hour of presentation, and congratulations to all the speakers today that you keep the time very, very good. So the next part is on the Q&A. We received a few questions in the chat and in even the registration form when you all register for the events. So I would like to raise some questions that we have right now. Firstly, I think there's a question for Jesu. To comply with LHDN MyInvoice e-invoice guideline for platform service provider like Grab, Shopee, and Locum B2B app connecting healthcare facility with healthcare staff. How this compliance can be done? Can you share a bit on this topic, Jesu?
So if I understand correctly, the question is regarding a platform service provider. So if you're talking about Grab, Shopee, Locum, so they fall under a different category on self-billing. So remember the self-billing earlier, I showed you the slide, I already showed you 3 categories. Actually, the total is about 7, there are 7 of them, 8, okay? But, you know, one of the categories is related to the platforms, which are Grab, Shopee, and all of this. So if you are an e-commerce platform, you are providing a platform so that, you know, the different vendors are in there. So my presumption is that you are actually, let's say, okay, I give you 2 scenarios. Scenario number 1, you are Shopee, you are Lazada. That means you have your own platform where you invite vendors to do trading on your platform. So situation number 1. Now, if this is the case, you need to have a mechanism to do self-billing, i.e., you have to do self-billing on behalf of the vendors who sell in your platform and the customers. So you need to take care of both. So again, if you can afford to have a platform for people to do trading, the cost of setting up all of this is nothing for Shopee, Lazada, and all that. However, let me talk about scenario number 2. No, you are not the platform operator. You are just a vendor within Shopee, or you're a vendor within Lazada. Then you don't have to worry. Whatever sales transaction you do, you don't have to issue the e-invoice. Lazada or Shopee will do self-billing on your behalf. So you just have to make sure that all the self-billing they have done is correct. You know, of course, there will be some issue. I mean, the challenges would be more on how do you reconcile? You know, you'll have customers placing an order, and then Shopee will issue a self-bill under your name. But then midway, the customer cancels the order. And then, you know, you need to have a mechanism to track all of this. So this is a challenge. But in terms of issuing the e-invoice, not a problem. The burden is actually on the platform provider or Grab, whatever. They will issue e-invoice on your behalf. So I hope I've answered the question in relation to platforms. That means e-invoice in the platform. So if you're an operator, you must have the mechanism to bill on behalf of your vendors. But if you are a vendor within that platform, you don't have to work with Lazada or Shopee, because Lazada and Shopee are now responsible to do self-billing for you. Okay? So hope I've answered your question.
Yep, I think it's a great explanation of the questions. And to be in short, you know, we have different role. If we are the merchants, it can be different. If we are the platform providers, it can be different. So the heavy work usually is with the platform providers because they are the one to engage with the end clients. So that is in short summary of the answer from Jesu. Yep, thank you so much. I think it's a complete answer. So next, I would like to invite, I think the next question should be addressing to Makoto. You know, how is the futures roadmap of, you know, MyInvois LHDNs, and do the customer need to pay extra any fee to use that for Odoo, or it's just you know, how the pricing works? Yeah. Makoto, can you on that?
Yeah. So there are actually 3 questions in that one question, so I'll just answer them accordingly. So, in terms of roadmap for the LHDN and also MyInvois, so right now we actually have a team that is dedicated. So we have a localization team in Odoo that is constantly checking with different localization updates, and right now, like, we're also working on like just making sure like the phase 2 of MyInvois is being, you know, standardized in Odoo. Actually, as of now, for the consolidated one, it's only available right now by partners, which is what A1 Consulting was showing just now. Like, they're actually doing the consolidated invoices, but in the standard Odoo right now, we still don't have it, but we're planning to launch it in Q2, right? So, and I'm confident because the way that we respond and the way that we really are wanting to make sure this is done well, right? We are actually really responsive. You know, in the past, we actually don't have a localization team. to do this. It's more like people pick it up by project, but right now we have more designated team that actually works on this. So we are able to deliver updates much more on a frequent basis. Okay. And for the second question, is it going to be extra? No, it's all going to be part of the license process, right? For the, let's say the features are in standard, then it's all going to be covered, right? It's not going to be having extra charges for using that. But if today, to give an overview of how the pricing structure works, so Odoo, the way we price it is by user. So how many users who can have an account to log in and to view, to edit, to make changes to the system, we classify that as users, right? So those are users with a pricing, and then let's say a company would have 50 employees, and maybe 20 of them, people who are in the office, management would need access to that. So we would count that as like 20, maybe 25 license that we are charging for that specific company. Okay, so of course on top of that there is there's hosting option, right? You can choose your own hosting. You can work with different hosting locations or different hosting vendors. But if you do choose to work with this, we have options that either is comes with a license, or there is a much more powerful hosting platform that allows more changes and customizations to be happen, and that's actually going to be an extra fee. And worry not, everything that I was talking about is all on the website. It's very transparent. There's no hidden costs, that says, hey, you need to add this amount, if you want to use this. Everything is shown on our website. But I do want to manage expectation here. If you do work with a partner or any partners, right, there is going to be an expectation that, hey, let's say if your company process is going to be complicated, then the implementation process is going to look different based on your requirement list. Right, and this is where we talk with different partners. Different partners will have different strengths to help you implement the software to the best of their ability and to your need as well. Okay, so I hope that answered that question by just giving an overview of how the license work and how to work with different vendors.
Yep, great answer, Makoto. And on top of that, I just want to add on that as a Odoo partner in Malaysia, we also provide extra enhancement add-on to what the limitation of what Odoo cannot deliver at the moment for the LHDN. Of course, we paved the way for Odoo as a standard, so we don't need to worry about future upgrades. That is one of the biggest concerns with the client when there's certain customization come with Odoo partner. So as Odoo partner, we try our best to stick with Odoo roadmap and to keep the system as standard as possible. Yep, I think the next question that come up is, a lot of question is raised. Kevin name, it seems that everyone is very exciting about your demo. So there's two questions for you. One is, can you explain a bit on how to set up the customer TIN, BRN, and also the product classification code? Maybe you can show with or without the system. That's the first question. The second question, the customer also asks you, do we have a capability from Dylan? Do we have a capability to show, to create a consolidated e-invoice with multiple invoice in the Odoo system? That is a two question for you, Kevin.
Okay, sure. I didn't expect need to go back to the system again, but I think it's good to tell the story using the system, as you can see those things that's actually in action. Okay, let me share my screen again, and I believe there are two parts to your question. Okay, again, back to the main Odoo ERP dashboard. Yeah, okay, good. So I think the first question is, I think our guest has noticed that there's a lot of parameter or fields that is auto-populated, which is pre-configured, is already in the system. How do you do that? Number one, how do we get the PIN the TIN number as well as a SSN, which is the business registration number? Very easy. Go to the sales, where here we manage your customer master. So here, if I look at the Azure interior, which is the sample that we used just now, you can see that the TIN number is here. Okay, and not only that, for each customer, well, of course, this is for the purpose of demo. Some of the fields is not populated as incomplete. However, you have the function, you have it by standard, you can configure the text ID, the SST ID. Of course, I can put in the SSN number here as well. So all are pre-configured. Okay, that's why you can see the submission process is so smooth, it's so straightforward. Okay, just to show you another one. For example, like the deco edit. Because we know this guy is based out of Malaysia, is in US. So the text ID is the 90 followed by the 30, which is the self billing TIN number. Okay. Then the next question, how do we manage the category of the product? Where product is inventory. You go to inventory, you go to products, just click here. Okay. If you notice the product which I used just now, okay, is large cabinet, for example. Okay, so here you can see that this is fully compliant to fully compliant lembaga hasil. So the e-invoice. So you need to set up the Malaysian classification code and abroad classification code. Okay, the list is complete. Okay, so you can see everything is here. Okay, now you need not worry that, I mean, the next question you might have is that, what happens if there's a change of code? One additional code, how do we get complete? Okay, we are registered e-invoice platform provider with that. Okay, and we always get the updated memo from them. Okay, so we use that, then we update this knowledge into the system. And not forgotten, we always have our tax consultant with us, Mr. Jason. So we are going to get the memo from him as well. Okay, so our update will be updated, so you don't need to be worried about the non-compliance issue. So hopefully that answer your question on the code sets the TIN number. And the next question I have, I think, is that you want to look at how the consolidated invoice is done, correct? Now, similarly, I go back to the sales. Okay, so I think myself and Jason will mention that for consolidated invoice we falls under general public. So for example, you have this sales order coming in, normally by your POS system, point of sale system. So the receipt, the invoice come from the POS system will end up in here. Okay, for example, this is general public. This receipt is about a large desk which is sold as this amount. Okay, then you also have another one. This one, this is large cabinet sold at this amount. Okay, same. It's general public. The consolidated invoice is a 90 followed by 10. Okay, now we go back. Okay, of course, in your business, I wouldn't expect you have only two receipt in a day. So you have a long list of receipt. You just need to select all, then you submit as a consolidated invoice. Okay. Next thing that you do, create invoices, create draft. Okay, invoice is created already. Just need to click confirm. Okay, you see that is consolidated for these two items into one invoice. You can see that there are two sales order, but there's only one invoice here. TIN number is here. Just click confirm. And that's it. I'm going to send e-invoice again. E-invoice is sent. Okay, just to be sure. Okay, normally you don't need to do this because you won't be so excited every day you want to go and submit in your ERP system and check MyInvoice portal. But for the purpose of confirmation, you can go inside MyInvoice portal. I'm going to search again. This is the latest that we have just submitted. Okay, invoice number 25. Okay, it's consolidated invoice under this TIN number, and the line item is here as well. Okay, so thank you, Andrew. So hopefully I answered the two questions.
Yep. To add on what Kevin is sharing, I think the real scenario will be more complicated than this. We have certain retail clients, you know, like they have a lot of sales every day, and then they submit consolidated even day end or month end. You know, in this kind of case, they provide, you know, retail customer, they usually provide the portal for the client to come and request for invoice by themselves, providing all details of your personal, you know, for claiming purpose. And then of course at the month end, Odoo will automatically, our system, the customization that we enhance on, will automatically remove all the invoice that the end clients have asked for issue. So the rest will be consolidated into one big invoice with many different lines. However, this kind of case, due to certain limitation of LHDN, the limitation of line will adjust to ensure that we break into smaller piece to submit to LHDN. So the conclusion is that this is just to show you the concept, but the real case is going to be more complicated than that in terms of consolidated invoice, especially in the retail industry, which is we are serving a few big different retail chains in Malaysia. Yep. So thank you so much for all. I think we have the last questions. This question I think is coming from Chen Yen from Wind Development Realty. So this question I might need to have some opinion from both Kevin and also Makoto and also Jesu. How this customer is coming from real estate agencies who are doing sales, leasings, and investment operations. For this kind of scenario, the question is how is compliance with LHDN and how Odoo can help them for management purpose. It's a very real case example. Just give us a very generic answer. I think we do. Don't need to go detail. I think if not, it's take many different hours to answer in full. So I would like to invite Dyson Jesu first for the first round, and then followed by Makoto and Kelvin. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Okay, so when we talk about real estate agents, so as an agent, you get commission. So that is where your sales or income comes in. So what happens is that, let's say we have two scenarios. You have Mr. A and Mr. B. Mr. A wants to sell the property. Mr. B wants to buy it. And you as an agent, you are helping to sell Mr. A's property to Mr. B. So being a real estate negotiator, you have to balance both sides. Now, once the deal is struck, the buyer, in this case, Mr. B, is going to put an earnest deposit. It could be 2%, 3%, doesn't matter. So he puts a 2%. So at this point of time, Mr. B will pay Mr. A 2%. As a real estate negotiator, are you entitled to your income now? Actually, no, because the deal is not done yet. It's just an earnest payment. So at this point of time, do you issue the e-invoice? The answer is no. Now, as Mr. A has received the earnest payment, both of them will engage a lawyer to sign the sales and purchase agreement. Now, at the point of time where the sales and purchase agreement has been signed, the balance 8% will be paid by Mr. B to Mr. A's lawyer. Now, that is the point of time the sale has been concluded. Already done their part because they found Mr. A, Mr. B, they introduced them, they negotiated the price, they did the job, the contract has been signed. At this point of time, Mr. A, being the seller, now receiving 10% of the proceeds, would pay 2% of the commission to Mr. B. Will pay 2% of commission to the agent, not Mr. B, to the agent. Now, this is the point where the agent would have to issue the e-invoice notifying, yes, this is the income I have earned. So this is the point. The 10%, 90% sales proceeds for the property, no, nothing to do with the agent. All of that goes to that the lawyer will handle it. So you as a property agent, you only take care of your commission and you only issue the invoice on the commercial side, commission side.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think from my end, it's pretty much what Jason was mentioning too. Like I think from the software perspective, it's where we have CRM, where you handle different lead management, so we can track and manage leads from like initial contacts, the conversion, all of this to make sure that no opportunities are missed, right? And then client communication, right? Because in Odoo, we actually even like sending emails or receiving emails, right? Making notes, communicating internally with different salesperson or even management, they're all done within the system, right? So you can clearly track through the whole process. Like for any given moment, I click on this opportunity, I know who is the person that's responsible for the sales and who are the people that is involved, like a key stakeholder, right? And then on top of that, of course, that's going to be the main, since we're talking about like a property agent agency, right? But of course, you know, further you can further expound onto it, like finance management. You can look at the reporting, analytics, and also what Jasu was mentioning too, like commission plan is actually also standardized feature in Odoo as well. So from the software perspective, this is actually all included to be able to run this company well.
Yes, Kevin, you want to add on anything on this?
Oh, yes, I was waiting for you to point it to me. All right. So, all right. I think you have heard. I mean, the case is on the real estate agent. So, I believe that apart from the typical the core business of the sub sale of the unit, sub sale and also sub rental, I believe nowadays most of the real estate agent, they have another line of business which they take on completed property projects. Okay, then from taking the new projects, it's like the landed property is a high-rise apartment condominium. Then they sell that property. Okay, so this can comes under very nicely fit into the Odoo projects module. Okay, not only that, so on top of the CRM, before the CRM, I'm sure that the real estate agent and many other companies, you do a lot of marketing. Okay, so you have the email marketing, WhatsApp marketing, social marketing. So all this can be channeled using marketing automation into the CRM. Okay, without any manual work. So these are the automation inside it. Okay, and I believe that as a real estate agent, you are going to run certain emails marketing event. So that can be managed inside the Odoo ERP as well. Yeah, that's all I want to add on. Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew, allow me to add a little bit. Just to add on a little bit on that, I myself, I mean, we at Dasen also, we also use Odoo, so I can pretty much relate to what is going on. So pretty much in terms of CRM, customer relationship management, so we can do tracking in the sense that, okay, who is the customer, who is the sales agent, what is the total sales per agent. Now all of that can be tracked using Odoo as well. So it doesn't matter which industry you're in. There's something within the Odoo ecosystem that can be matched for your industry. So that's I just want to add a little bit on. So in terms of property management, yeah, you can your real estate. There's something like, for example, tracking of customers, sales agents, what is the production, what is the sales value, all of that. Yeah, there's a system within Odoo for that.
Great. Thank you so much, Jesu. So I think there's one more questions. The last one. Yeah, I'm about to close, but there's a lot of questions. I will take this question myself. I haven't answered any questions, so just kidding. So how's the API integration work with Odoo? I think this is a very general question, but I will give you a bit of the background. You know, like Odoo is firstly their open source system, so everything is able to develop own API. So when we talk about API, there's two ways to look into that. Firstly, the purpose API is to ensure Odoo have ability to integrate to external software. So ability to integrate to LHDN is one way to show that Odoo can work with other systems. And I have done a few projects that allow Odoo to work as a microservice, meaning that instead of serving accountant, sales, inventory, actually Odoo also can serve as a subsystem to support the main system. So all the ability is there. And because they are open source and they're built on cloud, so it's very API first approach, and they provide all the standards with ability to improve extra API on top of that. So I think for the integration for API, you know, Odoo is the best to start. So that's will be conclude today's sections. Firstly, I will share my appreciation to Jesu. He's our tax accountant. He's our company secretary. He's our handling our payroll. So he's helping us to focus on our business. And now today, he's also helped us to explain about the latest trend of LHDN and provide the value to our audience and to our potential customer and partner. Appreciate Jesu for today. Same thing for Makoto. He's from Hong Kong and he's really give us a lot of insights about Odoo. Reach out to them in linking in, we can share you more by emails after the session on the contact point, so you can reach out directly to them if you have any questions. I hope you found this session discussion insightful, and the live demo will show you immediate things on the actual things. When we talk about invoice, it's not just a buzzword, it's a real things. And of course, keep in touch with us for future webinar and futures conversation like this to give the value back to everyone. Appreciate your time. Have a good rest of the day and have a good Friday tomorrow. Thank you very much.
You all.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you all. Bye.
Bye-bye.